One evening, after putting Will to bed and kissing his soft cheek goodnight, Amelia sat with Cecilia in the living room, nursing a cup of tea. Her fingers toyed with the rim of the mug, her mind far from the warmth it provided. "You've been quiet all day," Cecilia said gently. "Talk to me." Amelia hesitated, chewing her bottom lip. "It's Brian," she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. Cecilia's brows lifted. "Your therapist?" Amelia nodded slowly. I think I like him. More than I should." A warm smile tugged at the corners of Cecilia's mouth. "And why shouldn't you?" "Because I'm his patient. Because I have a baby. Because I'm—" Her voice cracked. "Me, Mom, in a wheelchair, with scars and baggage, and everything in between." Cecilia leaned forward, placing her hand gently over Amelia's. "You are not your wheelchair, Amelia. You are not broken. And any man who truly sees you will see all that you are. Your strength, your heart, your brilliance, not your limitations." "But what if I'm just imagining it?" Amelia whispered. "What if he's just being kind? I couldn't bear the embarrassment of hoping for something that isn't real." Cecilia gave her hand a soft squeeze. "Then ask. Find out. Life's too short to let fear keep you from something beautiful. Don't let what happened with Matthew build walls around your heart. You deserve love. Real, patient, healing love." Amelia's eyes shimmered with unshed tears. "You really think he could love me?" "I think any man who truly sees you would fall in love with you, Amelia Grace. And I think maybe he already has." The next therapy session, Amelia stood at the parallel bars again. But this time, her heart beat faster. Not from the strain of movement, but from the weight of a decision. After she took her final step, and Brian helped her sit, she looked up at him, her voice trembling but clear. "Brian, can I ask you something? And I need you to be honest." His brows furrowed, concerned. "Of course." She swallowed hard. "Do you feel something between us? Or is it just one-sided?" There was a long pause. Then Brian sat down beside her, his voice quiet but intense. "I've been trying so hard not to cross a line, Amelia. You're my patient. It's supposed to be professional. But the truth is, yes, I do feel something. I've been fighting it because I didn't want to make you uncomfortable or take advantage of your vulnerability. But I think about you a lot, and not just during sessions." Amelia's heart swelled, a tear slipping down her cheek. He reached out, gently brushing it away. "You're incredible, Amelia. Not because of what you've survived, but because of how you've risen from it. And your son, he's lucky to have you." For the first time in a long time, Amelia allowed herself to believe she could have more. Not just healing, not just survival, but love. Life with Brian was like breathing fresh air after being underwater too long. Once the dam of fear and uncertainty had broken, the love between them flowed effortlessly. Their first date was a quiet dinner at a cozy Italian restaurant tucked away on a quiet street. Brian pulled out her chair, held her hand across the table, and smiled like she was the most radiant thing in the world. And to him, she was. After that came movie nights, where he'd let her pick the film, even the cheesy romantic comedies, and laugh at all her favorite parts like they were inside jokes. He brought her flowers just because, left notes in her books, and once surprised her with a necklace engraved with the initials A and W and B, Amelia, Will, and Brian. She'd cried when she opened it. On sunny weekends, Brian would pack picnic baskets and they'd take Will to the park. He'd lift the toddler high in the air, spinning him until his giggles echoed across the field. Will adored him, followed him around like a shadow, and Amelia often found herself watching them both with a heart so full she thought it might burst. Over the next year, Amelia's progress soared. With the strength of her growing confidence and Brian's unwavering support, she graduated from a wheelchair to crutches. She still had tough days, but she faced them with a determination fueled by love, motherhood, and a dream rekindled. Their bond deepened through every shared laugh, every bedtime story, every therapy session turned victory dance in the kitchen. The garden was lit with fairy lights and balloons, laughter echoing under a warm spring sky. Family and friends gathered to celebrate little Will's second birthday, now a giggling, chubby-cheeked toddler running through bubbles with pure delight. Amelia stood near the cake, chatting with Cecilia when Brian took the mic. Her brow furrowed in confusion until she saw the nerves in his smile. He called her forward, then dropped to one knee. Gasps filled the air. Will clapped with glee, oblivious to what was happening, but excited nonetheless. Brian looked up at Amelia, his eyes shining. "Amelia Grace," he began, his voice thick with emotion. "When I met you, you were learning how to walk again. But I was the one who truly began to stand. You showed me what strength looks like, what real beauty is. I've watched you fight for every step, raise a beautiful boy with love and grace, and still somehow make room in your heart for me." He paused, looking at Will and smiling. "You both saved me in ways I didn't even know I needed saving. And now, I want to spend the rest of my life returning that gift, loving you, cherishing you, and walking beside you, however slow or fast the path may be." He reached into his pocket and opened the box, revealing a simple, elegant ring. "Will you marry me?" Tears streamed down Amelia's cheeks as she nodded, unable to speak at first. "Yes, yes, Brian. 1,000 times. Yes." The garden erupted in cheers and applause, but all Amelia saw was him, on one knee, her son running into their arms as the three of them hugged. Cecilia wept openly, whispering, "Thank you, God," as she watched her daughter find the love she never thought she'd have again. 6 months later was their beautiful wedding. Cecilia's backyard had been transformed into a floral paradise. Roses, lilies, and jasmine blooming in every corner, white chairs lined neatly along the aisle, and soft classical music playing in the background. Will, dressed in a tiny suit with a pillow strapped to his hand, proudly toddled down the aisle as the ring-bearer, eliciting coos and laughter. Brian stood at the altar, his hands clasped, heart pounding. Then the music shifted. He turned, and time stopped. There was Amelia, his Amelia, walking toward him without crutches. She held her head high, her lace gown flowing with every steady step. Her arm lightly rested on Cecilia's, but she walked on her own. Every eye watched in awe, but Brian's filled with tears, tears of joy, of pride, of awe. He didn't even try to hide it. His bride, his warrior, was walking down the aisle to him. When she reached him, he whispered, "You took my breath away." She smiled, tears sparkling in her eyes. The ceremony was perfect. Vows were exchanged, promises whispered beneath the sky. And when they kissed, the crowd cheered like it was the climax of a love story that had already rewritten what it meant to heal, to rise, and to love again. As the sun set, Amelia and Brian danced slowly, Will perched on Brian's feet, trying to copy their movements. Laughter filled the air, soft music played, and Cecilia watched with a heart full of peace. Amelia had once asked for strength to walk again. She didn't know then that she'd also learned how to fly. The auditorium buzzed with energy, caps and gowns a sea of color and anticipation. At the front of the stage, Amelia stood at the podium, her eyes scanning the crowd for the faces she loved most. She spotted them right away. Brian, dapper in a navy suit, beaming with pride. Will, now 8 years old, bouncing in his seat with excitement, his grin stretching from ear to ear. And beside him, little Diamond, her 4-year-old daughter with wild curls and bright eyes, waving a handmade sign that read, "Go, Mommy." Amelia swallowed back the lump in her throat. With God's grace, she had made it. 6 years of hard work, sleepless nights, and determination that had once seemed impossible. But today, she stood as the valedictorian of her graduating medical class. She took a breath, then began. 6 years ago, I couldn't walk. I couldn't see beyond the pain and the fear and the uncertainty of what my future would look like. I was a young woman, newly divorced, pregnant, and bound to a wheelchair. But God had a plan bigger than my circumstances. He sent me love in the form of a baby boy, strength through a man who believed in me, and hope through every hand that reached out to lift me. Today, I don't stand before you because I am strong. I stand because I was loved, because I had a reason to rise. And I pray that each of you leaves here today knowing that your story isn't over, no matter what chapter you're in now. Never stop believing, never stop healing, and never stop walking, even when you have to crawl to get there. The crowd erupted in applause, but no one louder than Will, who cupped his hands and shouted, "That's my mom!" Laughter and cheers followed, and Amelia couldn't help but grin through her tears. The small celebration afterwards was simple. Just family and a few close friends gathered in Cecilia's garden. There was laughter, music, hugs, and warm toasts. Will told anyone who would listen that his mom was now a real doctor. And Diamond, not to be outdone, proudly announced she wanted to be a doctor princess. Cecilia's eyes shone with pride as she embraced Amelia. "You did it, my baby. You did it." The house was quiet now. The kids were tucked in, exhausted from the excitement. Diamond snuggled with her favorite unicorn plushie, and Will had fallen asleep mid-sentence, still dressed in his party clothes. Amelia sat on the back porch, cradled in Brian's arms. The night air was crisp, and stars sparkled in the dark sky. She rested her head on his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart, the rhythm of peace. "I still remember the girl who sat by this window, wondering if she'd ever stand again," she whispered. "Now look at her." Brian kissed her hair gently. "She didn't just stand, baby. She flew." Tears welled in her eyes, not of sadness, but overwhelming gratitude. In the quiet of the moment, she closed her eyes and whispered a prayer. "Thank you, God, for healing me, for Brian, for Will, for Diamond, for Mommy Cecilia, for the pain that shaped me and the victories that followed, for this moment of peace, for this life. I don't know what tomorrow holds, but I know we'll face it, together, with you." She smiled as Brian's arms tightened around her. This was home, not just a place, but a feeling, a purpose. A life that had been broken, rebuilt, and reborn in love. And whatever came next, Amelia was ready. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to give the video a like and leave a sweet comment. See you next time. And remember, love is free.